Welcome to an episode of Rally, the vodcast and podcast that is helping marketing leaders get results and be successful. I'm happy today to have Dan Clifford, the CMO of EvaClean, join me from Boston. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, thanks, Dan. Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, you bet. I'm excited to talk to you today about the topic we're focused on lately, which is positioning your brand to win. And today we're going to get Dan's perspective on this topic through the story of EvaClean's brand positioning and recent website build and launch. So give us a little bit of background, Dan, about what caused you to reach out and sort of begin this process.
Yeah, so I think it might help if I provide a little bit of context around what EvaClean is and sort of the journey, particularly the past couple of years. EvaClean is a B2B business that sells infection prevention programs, and our brand purpose is really to exist. We exist to make a safer world by eliminating preventable infections today and tomorrow. And I can break that down for you further into the conversation. But you can imagine what happened when a business like that. What happens when a pandemic like COVID unfortunately comes along. Prior to COVID, EvaClean was a bit of a niche business. We sold to sort of very specific verticals, and things like the right kind of chemistry, alternative chemistries, the right kind of equipment, advanced innovation equipment to solve for these things wasn't on the tip of everybody's tongue. Along comes COVID, and the business and the world really shifts, right? And the business and the brand came along with it. So the reason I reached out to Vi at the very beginning of our journey as a client and agency partners was, I joined and the brand and the business needed an overhaul from a marketing standpoint, from brand purpose, to the way we approached our messaging to our audience, understanding them, and then of course our digital footprint and the website that I partnered with your team on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. It's interesting because I know we appreciated up front your take and your understanding that a website build does have, the components and the power to position a brand in the way that you want it to. It's the home base. And so thanks for that. I think that engaging with an agency, you've got some experience doing that. I mean, in your career, but also as on the client side, bringing a brand to life by partnering with a team of people. And so I'm curious where the website was at when we started. So what from both a functionality, the technology that was being used, and then, the messaging and the user experience, what was the state of things?
Yeah. When I joined the brand and business, it was very oriented towards product and product messaging, which is typical of B2B brands. They sometimes lack the EQ. Most of my career I've spent in the B2C side. So I saw an opportunity to really kind of bring those experiences forward, and sort of the consumerization of B2B at times. You can kind of borrow from that B2C world and port that into the B2B world. And the marketing overall for EvaClean at the time really needed to come up to speed to help drive the business, but also give the brand life and a voice. One of the first things I did was really put in a digital transformation roadmap that addressed everything from our data to a CRM roadmap, and then of course our digital footprint and our marketing, and related to that, really taking a look at our brand and understanding really what is our purpose, what are we doing each and every day, what are we doing along, what's our purpose really, and how does that come to life in every contact we have, whether it's working with our sales team or our website. So related to Vi, the site itself was dated from a UX and UI standpoint. it really wasn't optimized to drive the business, and it wasn't telling the story of the brand. So the two primary roles of a marketing department is drive the business through marketing, one, and to create an enduring brand. And the site really wasn't doing that. And when you peeled back the layers, and when we, had our initial sessions around what is our brand all about, when I joined and pulled the sales team in and leadership, we landed on a purpose that was really, I mentioned this before, but we exist to make a safer world by eliminating preventable infections today and tomorrow. And today and tomorrow was really important as well, because it's part of our business model. We're not there to just sell you some solutions and move on. Part of our business model is actually built. We're going to come in, help you understand where your vulnerabilities are, put in some protocols and standards and guidelines, help you establish those and adopt those, and then we can come back on an ongoing basis. We're not a group that's going to be there today and gone tomorrow. And that was especially even more critical during COVID because there's so much of the unknown.
Yep. Well, I want to talk about that COVID time period and how that influenced you, just because of how closely related that is, what you do and what was going on and is going on in the world. But before I do that, you said something just a minute ago that I want to unpack a little bit. And that is that when you joined, you created a roadmap that included a CRM. It included did you say the technology that you were going to use, as well as the brand? And you did all of that before
Yes.
you reached out and started reaching out to an agency for help?
Yeah, for sure. I think, the critical part for me was to put in a strategy, right? And if I approach an agency partner, if I don't really have a good framework in which to tell you where we pointed to, I think, we're going to be flailing a little bit. I started my career very early in my career. I spent a couple of years in the agency world. I won't say I've walked a mile in your shoes, but I've walked a few steps. And I recognized, early on, I remember in the agency world, what's the phrase, the client gets the work that they deserve. And if you don't come to an agency with a framework and saying, okay, here's my business, here's the strategy, here's how we're trying to approach things, if you don't at least have that sort of vision and framework, I don't think you're going to set yourself up for success. I think agencies I think there's so many smart agencies and good people out there. They're good business people. They're good creative partners. But still, the client needs to come to the table with a good vision and a good brief.
Yeah, well, and obviously that doesn't happen every time we engage with a client at Vi, and that's just really interesting to me because this was a project that overall went really well, and you had the answers that we needed along the way, sort of predetermined. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had spent that time to sort of lay that out from a global A to Z perspective, so that you had sort of your bearings on the strategy that, as the chief marketing officer, you wanted to take this company and this brand and these products. And I know that you were thinking and you had a vision for that sort of you had to stay committed to throughout the pressures, if you will, of COVID, especially within the I guess the problems that you solve, what your products and services solve. There was a gut test for sure, right? So I'm curious about that and how that planning, the vision that you had helped you through that, because I'm guessing there was temptations throughout the way to cash in, maybe
Yeah.
on fear or whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was, COVID was an interesting time because it was difficult for personally and then brands to kind of see the future. So we kicked off our relationship here between Vi and EvaClean in the midst of all of that. And you're absolutely right. We could have chased the dollars. We could have gone down the road of nothing but fear mongering. And we made a decision early on to really craft a brand and a brand purpose and an approach that was more human. We wanted to create a more human and enduring experience. We hoped, and we were, we hoped that COVID, there would be something on the other side of it all. And we didn't want to, on the other side of it all, just be a brand that was just throwing up a bunch of, sci-fi scary stuff. So, first off, there was there's an absolute need and necessity to commit as agencies and partners that no matter how challenging it got in the midst of COVID and in the midst of, hey, and we also want to kind of redo our brand and our digital roadmap and our purpose and the way we go to market. We want to do that all in the midst of all of that. And so no matter how challenging it got, no matter how fuzzy the future was, no matter how you were impacted, either business or personal. I mean, think back to COVID, your kids, your family, your friends, spouses might have gotten sick, no matter what, we needed to stay focused on our cornerstones that we committed to as an agency, client partners, and that we were trying to accomplish together. And for me, it was really, there were two key cornerstones to that. So one I mentioned was creating a more human and enduring brand experience that was around, we didn't want to be a brand that was all about fear, do this or you're going to get COVID and gosh, something really bad could happen. We didn't want it to be all sci-fi. So the technology and the science is important. We are grounded in that. That's what our audience needs to hear from us. But we're still selling humans every day. So it's not about, tiny little cells with all kinds of spikes out of it. We need to present the science, but we need to do it in a human way.
Well, I think there was integrity in that. And I think that you and, the company EvaClean had, a high character coming into it. And I'm now thinking and seeing that how you taking the time, which is an investment, a big investment, taking the time and the energy to have a roadmap and to map that out and really think strategically, and how different that is, I think, from what a lot of companies, company owners, marketing leaders, even sales and marketing leaders do. They're maybe more focused on short term. And so if anything, I would encourage, anyone, watching this conversation or that maybe is searching for how to grow and how to do this better, is to really listen closely to what you're saying there about that roadmap, because I don't think there was any doubt along that way. Omicron pops up, all of this that you and the company would have ever gone down that route, right? Like trying to move volume at a time where you could have gone into that fear mongering kind of set, but instead you had integrity through that. And what's interesting to me is that this all started with a website.
Yeah.
A website build. But it's really, that may be how, the dollars are exchanged hands. We design, we build, we develop, we do all these things. But at the heart of it, we understand that positioning the brand, humanizing it in that way, is just as critical as, the SEO functionality or, the more technical minded things that we do. I put those two things together and even as an importance.
Yeah.
I think you did as well. So I guess I want to celebrate that like with you that you did that, and there's a nuance there that I think not all marketers and companies see and understand. That we get sort of caught up in the I want the navigation to look this way or the drop down or the CTA buttons, but there's a greater opportunity available. And before you jump into that, you should create that roadmap. And we can do that together too. But I think just because of your experience and what you bring to the table, it was already done. And so that certainly contributed to the success of it. And the site is now up, it's launched. And so what, we're, as of today, we've yet to see the, how the results will pan out in terms of, increased traffic, leads, you know, user experience and usability and things like that. So we're into that phase now, but
Yeah, we're
yeah.
definitely sort of phase one, taking a look, optimized, how do we, what are we noticing? What's the baseline? What are the web behaviors changing? So, I talked a lot about the brand, but technically the site needs to deliver too. Technically the site needs to drive the business with every click and every view. So you really have to marry those two things up, and Vi was a great partner
Mm-hmm.
in all of that. So, and you mentioned the site, and again, maybe this is a bit of that coming from a B2C world, but typically in a B2C world, you'd have a 24-hour a day e-com store website, and that's a mentality you think of when you're building up sort of an omni-channel brand. Here, and in B2B world, I thought of the website as, here's our 24-hour salesperson. We have a great sales team here. They're incredibly knowledgeable. They're incredibly passionate about what we're doing. But eventually they go to sleep. Eventually they got to sleep. Eventually they're on the road with another customer, another client, another prospect. So the site needs to be that kind of silent salesperson. So it needs to bring the brand to life. It needs to be clear about what our product lineup is, and it needs to be technically sound. So we're qualifying leads and servicing the brand and the business, when the human touch, when that real human, when someone from our sales team can't be there with that customer or potential prospect.
Yeah. Well said. And I think we've created something together that checks all of those boxes and more. And yeah, the infection prevention solutions for life is what a great headline for the homepage. And then also the call to action is request a consultation, right? And just that alone is positioning EvaClean in the way that we wanted to. So the website is EvaClean.com if anyone wants to check it out. EvaClean.com. And Dan, before we sign off today, is there anything else that you wanted to share about the process, about the brand, about what lessons we learned throughout this process?
I would just love to say, your team was wonderful. Again, we did a lot of this build during COVID and the chaos of it. We're trying to, like I said, the business was kind of niche pre-COVID, and then it really, now this, infection prevention programs are something that, many brands and businesses are embracing. So as we're trying to chase business, the Vi team and the team here, we're also trying to build a new way of presenting ourselves and our brands. So, we were kind of inventing a new way to kind of communicate to, as so much of the world was. And the Vi group was great. Sarah, Nick, Travis, the rest of the team, they're just fantastic partners. And I'm looking forward to what the next 2.0 version of our website, as well as our go-to-market strategy, looks like together with Vi.
Well, thank you. And thanks for jumping on today and recording a conversation about the story and telling the story about what we learned, what we focused on throughout this. Maybe we'll post an update here in 90 days or 6 months on the results of it. So
excellent.
So, yeah. Thanks, Dan. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.